Sorry, my bad. I was just trying to get the mic sorted out there. And yeah, we're live. Sorry about that. And just thought I'd jump on this lunchtime and give you my thoughts on that victory for Inoue over Butler. And obviously, guys, feel welcome to put any questions in the chat. And happy to answer them. And yeah, I think first up, it was pretty dull fight, if I'm being honest. And yeah, it just didn't seem to. I don't know, just didn't really seem to pick up. Butler was obviously quite negative in his approach, and why wouldn't you be against Inoue? I think Inoue looked pretty sharp, pretty powerful as usual, I have to admit. And yeah, I think it was just more of a matter of Butler trying to survive rather than win. And yeah, I don't really, it's a weird one. It's like, because what do you do against Inoue? The guy literally is a monster when he's in there, and I don't think there was much Butler could do. I think he's done himself justice in terms of, like, many guys were saying that he was going to get knocked out pretty early, and he managed to survive till the 11th round, which I think that's a good, you know, that's pretty impressive in itself. 11 rounds of Inoue. Even if his approach was quite negative, he had a very tight guard. He was clearly trying to stop those body shots, kept moving. And yeah, Inoue kind of, you could tell at one point, Inoue was kind of getting a bit frustrated. Um, he was kind of trying to putting his arms behind his back, uh, trying to make Butler commit himself, and Butler really wasn't doing it. Um, and yeah, by the time it came to the 11th round, it was a good punch flurry from Inoue to kind of finish it off. I believe he got him to the body. But yeah, I think overall, it won't be one of those memorable fights, but I think he's finally dominant. He's got all four belts from the bantamweight division, and it's kind of a matter of what does he do now. Personally, I think he should probably move up in weight, and yeah, like I've seen the comments at the moment, uh, Fulton and Inoue is the fight I think a lot of fans want to see now. We want to see Inoue move up and challenge and try and challenge in another weight division. I think we would all love to see that. And Fulton is the man at super bantamweight. So, in terms of who I think will win that, going off that display just there, I think Inoue looked very powerful, very sharp, and Fulton. If I've done a breakdown on Fulton on the channel before, I've got a video you guys can check out if you want after this. He's your traditional kind of, Philly fighter. Uses that shoulder roll, uses the jab, moves around the ring. Yeah, he's a really intriguing fighter, and Naoa should be able to. I don't know. Just going off that, I think Inoue would be able to kind of walk him down and get him with some good shots. Fulton also, he can fight on the inside as well, but it's quite difficult getting on the inside of Inoue. He's also got very good foot movement in terms of coming back and stopping his opponent from, getting to him and getting to work on the inside. And not only that, he's so powerful. Is it even worth fighting him like that? Yeah, it's a really intriguing match. I'd love to see it. Whether that happens anytime soon, because obviously Inoue is with Top Rank and Fulton is with PBC. So how that could work, I don't know. Unless maybe there's, trying to think, I highly doubt there would be a cross promotion. I don't know about Neoa's promotion in Japan. Um, and maybe that could help make that fight happen. But then there's, yeah, there could be some other decent fights at super bantam, or even could even go up to something like featherweight. Is that an option? Um, I I imagine he'll probably move up to super bantamweight after this, but you know, I think he's big enough to definitely go up to at least featherweight even. Um, but initially, yeah, I think Inoue would probably win at the moment. As much as I love Fulton as a fighter, I love watching him as well. But I just think there's something about Inoue I think can take him out. And Prince, thanks for joining, man. Again, you're always on my live streams, which is great. Haven't done one in a while, so thanks for joining. As I said, I think Fulton is probably the best you can face um, at Super Bantam, and it'll be interesting to see, what he does next. That's I think there's no point staying in bantamweight any longer. I think he needs to move up, and yeah, it's just it's one of those. He's just so good. I think p- he's the way he's able to set up those body shots, and even just everything comes off the jab, and it's so sharp and lethal when he throws it as well. And it's just like, fair play. Like I keep going back to Butler, but like as much as he was trying to just survive that fight, and you got to give him credit. You really do for surviving those 11 rounds. As much as wasn't the greatest fight to watch. Uh, I'm sure he'll be proud of himself surviving that long. Punch Perfect. Thanks, Jamie, for joining. Thanks, mate. And go subscribe to Jamie's channel, Punch Perfect Boxing. He does great predictions on all the fights. Like pretty much every fight, Jamie, you're doing a great job over there. And yeah, keep it up, man. And you guys, if you've got any questions, put it in the comments. Happy to answer, give me my thoughts on Inoue or any other fights of the weekend. And I guess the fight I was going to talk about as well, just from the weekend, was obviously Teofimo Lopez, Sandor Martin. And originally, when I first watched it, I thought Martin definitely won it. I thought, obviously, he got the knockdowns against Teo. Teo was struggling. Styles make fights. He struggled to get to him, and that's clear. And you could say Martin was quite negative in his approach. He's just trying to basically jab and move and counter as Teo was coming in. And for my first watch, I thought he lost the fight. But I was a bit, you know, from when I watched it again, I just, I kind of probably discredited Teo a bit more than I thought. And if you actually look at the CompuBox punch stats, and I know they don't tell the whole story of the fight, but I just felt that, um, yeah, he probably maybe did enough to win the fight. I think sometimes it's funny when you watch a fight, the initial watch, you always think that you know you don't like to go against your original decision and what you thought what you scored the fight. But after having watched it again, I was actually maybe a bit harsh on Teo, and I think ever since the Cambosis loss, maybe people just think he doesn't have it, and I think he is a very talented fighter. I think one of the issues with him, he doesn't use the jab enough or uses it poorly. I think he's not a pressure fighter as well. He needs a fighter to come to him, rather than him pushing the fight. So yeah, I'll answer some questions just now. Prince, is age catching up on Loma? I don't know yet. I think he's looked pretty good in his last couple of fights, if I'm being honest. I think obviously we want to see that Devin Haney fight. I saw Devin Haney talking about something about that Top Rank or wanting to push the fight to May or something. He's wanting it earlier around March or something like that. So Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when that fight takes place. I think you know, personally, I think he's still, you know, how many more years does he have left to fight at that kind of top level? You know, maybe a couple more at most. And the fight with Haney should be really entertaining to watch. Thoughts on Lopez? I thought Lopez won, but versus Regis will be so hard. So yeah, I think Regis progress. I think it's clear. You know, like I said, Lopez needs the fighter to come to him. Regis is quite an elusive fighter himself as well. He, you know, I think he'll cause a lot of problems for Lopez if they were to fight. Regis can come forward as well. Uh, That's a hard fight. That's a really hard fight. I think Lopez, you know, Teo needs at least one more fight before he goes in with a Regis Prograis or Josh Taylor or someone like that. Yeah, I think that'll be a hard fight. Crazy D3 Butler was a disgrace, similar to Callum Smith versus Canelo. Yeah, but it's you know what can he do? I think personally, Callum Smith could have done a lot better versus Canelo. He could have done a lot more and utilized his size and his jab a bit better. Whereas with Butler tonight or today, wherever you're watching, Inoue is so dangerous. It just takes one opening for him to get you, you know? And I wouldn't necessarily it was a disgrace, you know, and if you compare them like their talent and their skill set, you know, Inoue is 10 times better than Butler. I don't know what else he could have done. And at the end of the day, he's a prize fighter as well. You know, he would have got a really good payday for that. So, you know what? I don't blame him. You know, for the approach that they did. And to go 11 rounds with arguably pound for pound number one, I don't understand, you know, I don't blame the guy because he was never going to compete with him in terms of his skill set and talent and even physically, you know, Inoue just if you looked at the two of them in there in that fight, you know, Inoue was just, you know, on another level physically. He just looked bigger and stronger. Yeah, Vice Gaming, as you said, he was just, you know, it's a good payday for him, isn't it? At the end of the day, um, you know, was he ever going to win that fight? Let's no, let's be honest. Could he have maybe countered him with a good shot? You know, he did get some good counter punches on him in the fight, some good combinations, but it wasn't enough. You know, it was very small moments, and Inui's defense as well. You know, was pretty good. So yeah, uh, let's have a look. Yeah, keep questions coming in, guys, and I'll answer them on Inui, the Inui fight just there, or anything at the weekend. Happy to answer. Prince, thoughts on the Beater BF fight? Yeah, I think it's stylistically it should be quite good. I think um, yards. Personally, I don't think you'll win the fight. I think you can cause some problems for BTBF, but at the moment, for me, BTBF is just he is also a monster. He's a bit like a new in that sense with his you know. And the thing about Beater BF, it's just his punch timing and his ability to just bull you on the inside. And it'll be interesting to see Yard's approach in that fight. Will he take a step? Will he, you know, go on the back foot, or will he go on the front foot like he did against? Oh my God, his name's left my name. Uh, Lyndon Arthur when he fought him. You know, in the second fight versus Lyndon Arthur, you know, he was the aggressor. He came forward. You know, you know that's a very risky approach to do that against Peter Biev, who we saw when in the Joe Smith fight, he was able to time him with those punches coming in. And, you know, it's probably better if Yard decides to box and move against Peter Biev rather than stand and trade with him. I think that's the best approach. Yeah, yeah. In terms of my live streams, Prince, you're always here, man. Appreciate it, dude. Adari Pennant. They should make a glory heavyweight Grand Prix. Pride Ultimate Contender boxing tournament make these things easier for fighters? Well, it's like the World Boxing Super Series. I love that to come back. I think that's a great way to get more of these top fights to happen. But it's getting, the issue is these guys are part of promoters and networks. Are they willing to sign up to it? And it's, the only way around it is if, these promoters or the networks sign like a deal with the World Boxing Super Series or something like that, for example, to get them to work together to make these big fights in a division. But it's very hard. I can only imagine the negotiations to do something like that. It's very difficult. But I've got a video coming out hopefully today or tomorrow, kind of about that. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Uh, my opinion, who's your fighter of the year? Personally, it's between Bam Rodriguez and Bivol. I haven't decided yet. I'm gonna kind of look back at the fights again and see how both guys, just watch their fights and then I kind of make my mind up. But for me, probably one of those two for fighter of the year. You guys, if you've got any questions, put them in. Happy to answer. Going to be here for maybe another half an hour or so. And yeah, I'll also touch on the other fights as well. I've kind of answered, talked about them in some of the comments, but I'll touch on two of the other fights of the weekend. Caleb and Billy Joe Saunders, I'm assuming. Who do you think is better? Uh, I always rated Billy Joe Saunders. I thought it's just he kind of just went, the money and the kind of the fame. He kind of lost his passion at one point for it. It came back, and that Lemieux fight, that's his defining performance. But overall, I don't know. I think Caleb Plant for me, I think is really slick boxer, good skill set, and I think we need to see him in some more bigger fights. I think he also did a better job versus Canelo than Billy Joe Saunders personally. But Billy Joe Saunders had some good moments too in that fight. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. Gad, I think if Inoue went to the body more, he could have finished Butler sooner. Yeah, I think so as well. I think he was throwing the right hand a lot. I noticed. You know, but Butler, I think they obviously worked on it before the fight to get ready to defend those body shots. He had a very tight guard. He was dropping the hands quite quickly. He was timing it well for those 11 rounds, and he was also making sure to keep moving in the fight, which helped him from not getting knocked out so early. But yeah, I think could he have been a bit more aggressive? Could he have been more aggressive in Nui? But Butler did well to keep moving. Yeah. Vice Gaming, sadly, he's going to have to take a break from boxing because no one will want to watch Paul after this. Well, I get I guess he's going to get a good payday, isn't he? Can't speak at the end of the day. So I don't know. It's up to him. I don't know how old is Butler right now. I don't know. Let's have a check. I think he's must be 30 something now. 34. Well, that would have been a big pay. Maybe this is the last fight, for Butler. I guess we'll see. What are you saying, Vice? Inoue wanted to fight, not be boring. Butler going to Japan for undisputed fight and not a fight, especially where they hold honor in high regards. It's kind of a slap in Japan. So I don't culturally, maybe it is. I don't know. But he's going in with one of the pound for pound, arguably best fighter in the world right now, most dangerous fighter in the world right now. The way he's finishing off guys, can you blame him? I don't know. For me, I don't think anyone thought he was going to win. Like I said, anything can happen in boxing, but Yeah, he was in there to survive and probably get a payday, let's be honest, and he did very well to survive 11 rounds. So, I can't blame him. And guys, keep the questions coming in. I'll be here for like another 25, half an hour at most. Adari Pennant, Sugar Hill Stewart will be good boxing trainer for Philip Hergovich. Oh, I didn't know he was with him. Are you has he moved over to him, or are you just saying that in general? Uh, yeah, guys, keep the questions coming in. Like I said, any questions on the fights of the weekend or the Inoue fight just there? Happy to answer. No, I didn't. I don't even know what happened with it. Um, let me know who won. I have no idea. I only found out about it the other day, and someone texted me about it. I was like, "What the hell? He's actually fighting." I've seen him like saying he would come out of retirement to face uh, Crawford or Spence again, which is interesting. Sorry, someone was calling me there. Never seen a Nui showboat like this. Yeah, I know. Like the way he was putting his hands behind his back was quite funny. Um, but I think he was also getting frustrated because Butler was just so negative. So he was trying to make Butler commit so he could potentially set up something. But it didn't seem to work at all. Gad, I know someone asked this question earlier. Could you share your thoughts on Fulton versus Inoue again? Yeah, sure, man. I'll quickly do it this time. So yeah, I think Fulton's very skilled, very slick fighter. You know, uses that Philly shell, uses the lead hand really well. Can also fight on the inside. Stylistically, quite very different to Anui. And just going off just the last couple of fights of Anui anyway, he's looked very powerful, very strong. You know, the way he's just walking down guys. And even the fight against Butler just there, he looked very powerful. And for me, it's whether can Fulton. I think Fulton could definitely keep him off for the first 6 rounds. I think with his skill set, but I just think Anui's pressure and his physicality would just overwhelm Fulton eventually. And I really rate Fulton. I think he's a brilliant fighter, by the way. Really good fighter, Fulton, and I've done a breakdown on him. If you haven't seen it already, Gad, so go check that out. But I just think the physicality and you know, the pressure and even Anui's ability to just throw unreal combinations and different angles. Yeah, I just can't see it Fulton winning that one at the moment. I need to do a proper like sit down and look at all of Anui's weaknesses to kind of give a case for Fulton, but it's hard. Crazy, is Crawford an underrated puncher? Well, I think he is a puncher. He's a very good puncher. He's proven that in his last few fights anyway. Or I think he's got a pretty decent KO percentage now. I think. But talking about that fight, I think Crawford. It was pretty straightforward. Um, Avanesian, I did a video on it just before. I thought he would maybe put up more of a fight, but Crawford actually set him up pretty well for that knockout. He tempted him to throw a punch and then countered him, and then the opening was there for him to get that knockout. And yeah, I think Crawford, fair play to him. Very good knockout against a good fighter. I think Avanesian. I know not a lot of guys had heard about him, but he's a good fighter, and I think Crawford did a good job in handling him. Worked off the southpaw stance as well, which I thought he would, and would counter him coming in, and it was a great finish. So be interesting to see what he does next year. I think, you know, that Spence fight is obviously going to be hard to make still. I'm not hoping for that to happen anytime soon. And yeah, I think, could he maybe fight someone like Virgil Ortiz Jr.? That would have been a good preparation fight for like a young up and coming guy like that. You know, and then I think Ortiz is obviously on the zone as well. And if Crawford's a free agent, you could go in there and make a big fight with him. Vice Gaming, you have to showboat. Them crickets were chirping. Surprised Butler didn't get a track rib after the fight. Yeah. Well, don't like I said earlier, man. I don't blame him. He's in with Inoue. I think a lot of guys have done that in the past. So, you know, as Devin says, he's a special man. He is. He's very talented. He's got tremendous skill set. He can't. I don't blame him for running, man. And you got any questions? I'll be on for like another 20 minutes probably. So happy to answer any fights about the weekend or the Inoue fight just there. Victito 8. Yeah, totally. He tried to have a nice fight, but can't blame Butler for being afraid. Yeah, like I said, I think a lot of guys have been afraid of going in there with Inoue. Can you blame him? And to 11 rounds with Inoue, how many guys have been able to say that? But then I know some people will say, well, he didn't even try and fight. But you know, I kind of said earlier in the stream, Inoue's talent by far surpasses Butler's, in terms of his skill set and what he can do in the ring. And it was a bit of a mismatch, let's be honest. Um, Interesting though, like Casemiro, obviously, there was obviously, should he have been the guy that fought Inoue in the end? Obviously, he missed weight against Butler. You know, I still think Inoue would have destroyed Casemiro personally, but I think Casemiro would have probably tried to put on more of a fight. Fabsy, thanks for the comment, man. One thing I'd say about Inoue is that he's sometimes he overcommits when trying to cut the ring off, and you can get ring space off him that way. Yeah, that's true. And I don't know, like in other fights, like for example, I always like to compare him. He's very similar to the way that prime Golovkin would cut off the ring at times, and even Golovkin as well would overcommit himself. They're very similar in that sense in terms of their footwork when they're trying to close off the ring against a guy, and yeah, against a better guy like maybe like a Fulton who can maybe exploit something like that. It'll be interesting to see that in the future. Victito 8, thanks for the comment again, man. How many more weight classes will he reach and carry his power also? I think, you know, super featherweight, I could see him going all the way up to that. You know, I think by the time he kind of gets to lightweight, that's where I'm about 135 pounds. Would it carry up? Would he even go up that high though? That's the other question. I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, I don't know. I think probably up to about super featherweight. I think it would start to kind of go around lightweight. That you can get some even at super featherweight. You look at Vargas; he's a big guy. Could Inoue really take someone like him out? I don't know. Maybe to the body. Prince, thanks for the comment. Is the Plant versus Benavides actually going to happen? I don't know, man. It seems to, obviously Plant posted about it. I think he said sometime around March, I believe. So, yeah, I think we need to be really even the Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia as well. It's like we actually don't know the date for it. They've obviously agreed for whatever reason. Is that to allow the broadcasters to have more time to negotiate a deal? It'll be interesting to see, but I think it will happen. I think let's hope it around March time we could see it. I watched your video about Crawford's feints, and that worked inspiring. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, glad you're able to take something from the breakdowns. And yeah, I was trying to help out with my style analysis, so you guys can actually take something from them and put it into your own training or your sparring or your fights. So I'm glad that that could help. Victito 8, also, it's the first time in a live with you. Just want to say hello and thank you from Tenerife. Oh, thanks, man. Um, I'm in Scotland right now. It's like snowing here. It's very cold. Wish I was in Tenerife right now. I'm absolutely freezing. But thanks for joining, dude. Appreciate it. Oh, Vice, appreciate the donation, brother. Thanks, man. You said Butler won't be the last fighter to run from the monster. Yes, exactly. He won't. He won't be. A lot of guys will still be running from, even if he moves up in weight. And this is the thing. It's like you even like with like Manny Pacquiao, for example. Uh, you know, think about how many. I'm not saying Inoue will become like a Manny Pacquiao, but he was able to use other skill sets when he moved up in weight. Manny didn't actually knock out that many guys when he started getting into the higher weights. Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see he you know how guys handle his power when he moves up, and if his power will work up at that weight, those higher weights. Gad, I've seen your videos. Keep up the great work. What's your most anticipated fight next year? Thanks, man. I appreciate it, dude. Thanks for watching my videos. It means a lot. And yeah, in terms of the next, I'm putting a video together actually about my top 12 fights. But you know what? The one I actually am, and I really hope it does happen. I know we all want to see like Spence, Crawford, and Usyk, Tyson Fury, but I really want to see the Ryan Garcia Tank fight. I think that stylistically could be, an absolute cracker, fireworks. I really do. I think knockdowns and and all sorts. Um, I really want to see that fight. I think even the build up to that would be great. And yeah, I think I was kind of looking back at the last year, and it's been quite poor in terms of big fights this year. And I'm hoping now going into 2023, we start to see some of these bigger fights come into place. I really do. Uh, because at the moment, this year's not been the best, if I'm not going to lie. I don't know what you guys think. Comment and let me know. But I've just felt this year has been really poor for big super fights. So, there has been some good ones, but overall not the best. Prince, what's your boxing style? So my issue is I'm probably a lot more defensive than I used to be. I used to be quite open, use quite an open guard, but I'm more of a tighter high guard in terms of my approach now. And I've always kind of liked to base my style off like, I think Golovkin does the fundamentals really well. Even like someone like a Nui, using the jab, I kind of use a higher guard that way. And I used to be really open, and I learned the mistake. I broke my nose really badly from having a kind of more open stance and boxing the back foot. And after that, I kind of it humbled me a lot. And yeah, I've kind of used a more kind of defensive higher guard now. And yeah, you have to be very skilled, to fight in the back foot like that. And I got humbled. No one's perfect. Fabsy, Inoue Casimiro would have been like Daenerys. Uh, I can't even pronounce his name, but I can't remember that fight. Daenerys, who was that against? Daenerys. I'm just checking to see how you pronounce his name. Oh yeah, that knockout. Yeah, um, Vic. That's his. That's his name. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Vice. I think the only reason people question Crawford's resume, Spence has the harder fights. Not going to lie, Crawford has the edge in the fight, mainly because Spence has been in wars and the car crash. Yeah, I think I flip. Sometimes I think I watch some old fights of Spence, and I'm like, I think he takes Crawford. I really do. I think he can beat him. But then like that fight the weekend just there against Avanesian, you know, it makes me think, oh, there's just something about Crawford. There's something special about him, and the fact he has the power at welterweight. You know, people that say he doesn't have power here, it's ridiculous. He's able to knock out guys at this weight. Um, I think it'd be interesting. If he was to move up to super welterweight, against a Charlo, could he beat someone like that? Would the power go up that high? I don't know, but in terms of Spence, yeah, you think because obviously the car crash that happened, how much has this affected him? And even in that Ugas fight, there was one moment where like he got hit and he kind of like froze up, and even Ugas kind of like hesitated to because he was kind of shocked by the way he kind of just opened himself up. And you kind of think, did he get a? Because he said openly that he gets like flashbacks about the car crash sometimes. So, and he's obviously in another car crash just the other day. Crazy, but um, yeah, I still think it would be a very close. I think it would be a 12 rounder. I don't think it would go. I think it would go the 12 rounds between the two of them. Um, but it'll be interesting to see. Let's hope that happens next year. But I'm not waiting out for that anymore. Just when it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But be interesting to see. Uh, Victito 8. It's a shame because MMA has been on a ride this year, eating more and more attention from boxing. Yeah, I guess like I'm not a huge MMA guy. I watch it sometimes just to kind of watch something different. I do enjoy it. Um, and yeah, I'm starting to notice more people are talking about it in terms in my kind of boxing circle who who kind of like MMA. And this is the thing about boxing though, when there's a super fight, when there's a big fight, it brings all attention even more than a big UFC fight would, in my opinion. Um, Not to say that those events aren't big or anything like a big UFC fight, but there's something about a big boxing fight. It just doesn't compare. Um, that's just my opinion. But Vice again, thanks for the comment, dude. Appreciate it. Spence isn't the same fighter. I've been his fan since the beginning. I can see the difference. But if it was a prime Spence, he would beat Crawford. Yeah, like I just said, I go back and forth between the two still. But then you need to remember that he was in that car crash, and how much could that have affected him? Uh, oh, sorry. Uh, Gad, Davis versus Garcia. Who's your pick? At the moment, I'd probably have to say Gervonta. I think all round he's just a better fighter, and I think stylistically he's kind of faced guys like Garcia, and I think he'd be able to time him. And even Garcia, you saw in that Luke Campbell fight, he did struggle against him at times. And even though Garcia obviously got the knockout and stuff, I just think, he's such like Gervonta's such an explosive puncher. I know Garcia is as well, but I just think he would be smart around not getting hit by that left hook. And he's there to be hit, Garcia, as well, I have to admit. But I don't know. That's kind of my initial thoughts. I'm not saying Garcia is a wild card. This is the thing. Like, Garcia could probably beat a lot of guys at 135 and 140 with one good shot. That's all it takes for him. One big left hook, and he's got you. He's a wild card. He could beat any of them. However, I just think there's so many openings to attack him. Going to the body, he leaves his chin very high up. He's got a bit better over the last couple of fights, but he's still very open in his approach. And if he could use his speed and power to his advantage in the early rounds, he might be able to take out Tank. But I just feel over a 12-round fight, I think Davis would be able to take him later into the rounds and get him that way. I think Tito 8, I'm fed up with the Casemiro fans. He's a cheater and he's not yeah, you're right. He's not on Inoue's level at all. And yeah, Casemiro, he's taking the piss in terms of missing weight and calling Inoue out constantly with not, does he actually have the intention of fighting him, or is he just using him to make a name? Yeah, guys, I'll stay for another 15 minutes. I'll try and make this stream about an hour. And if you've got any questions on the fight or any super chats, it'd be appreciated. And I'll try and answer as many as I can before I finish up in the next 15 minutes. But thanks everyone for joining so far. I really appreciate it. And it's good answering these questions. Enjoyed it. Usyk versus Dubois official from the WBA, I believe. But I don't know. Will they do that as like a Dubois will step aside to make the Fury Usyk fight? And maybe like fight in the undercard or something like that. I don't know. But I hope that fight doesn't happen, because I think Usyk would, destroy Dubois personally. I think he would just completely outbox him. Be similar to the Joshua fight. But if he could maybe step aside and make the Fury fight, surely this will happen. And this is where the world organizations kind of like cause issues with this, these mandatories and stuff. It really annoys me how they decide them sometimes. And I think the WBA is one of the worst for it. Well, you know what? They're all quite bad for it. But just trying to see if there's any more questions you guys have. Your pal Sage, thanks for the comment, man. Appreciate it. And I'm assuming you're Jamal Charlo and Andrade. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'd probably go for Charlo if I'm being honest. If those two were to fight, I just feel like all round he's a bit, as much as Andrade, he's the weirdest fighter to kind of to watch. He has such a great start to fights, and then he just completely slows up. But against a better fighter, a top level fighter like a Charlo or something like that, I just think, or even like Canelo or something, I just think they would eventually wipe him out in the later rounds. I think it would be a close first 6, and then as the fight kind of went on, he would struggle. Boxing Boundary, thanks, man, for the comment. Have you heard about the scan? Yeah, I saw the gloves, which is really strange. Very odd in terms of like it's like the leather all peeled off. Very strange, very strange. And obviously they're like custom gloves, like to suit his boxing shorts and stuff like that, and what he was wearing to the ring. They kind of had to they were matching with what he was wearing. So I don't know if like Everlast have like put the leather in wrong, or if you know, but I've seen that before, that where a glove is like burst. Um, but yeah, that one it looks very fishy. Your pal Sage and Jermel versus Tim. Y- Here, Timzu will be a handful for Charlo, I think, in that fight. Um, I think that's a tough one to call. Charlo definitely the favorite, but I think he'll struggle. I think he that will be a very close fight. Um, Brad Lodge, thanks for the comment, dude. Do you think Inoue can move up and beat Fulton, who, in my opinion, is the best boxer in the class? I've kind of touched on this earlier in the stream, if you want to go back, but personally, like I said, yeah, I think he's the best at super bantamweight. But as soon as Inoue moves up there, I think the power will come up with Inoue, and I think as much as Fulton has the brilliant skill set to to pretty much he can pretty much do anything in the ring, but I just think the physicality and the pressure of Inoue would eventually get to Fulton, and I think Fulton as well. We've seen, he can fight on the inside, but I think he would actually, that's the wrong approach you do with a guy like Inoue. And he's hard to fight in the inside of Inoue as well. He doesn't really fight like that. He makes it difficult to get to him. So, if anyone can do it, Fulton can, but I think it would be still a hard fight to win for him. And I'm a huge fan of Fulton as well. Um, Steve, appreciate it, man. Thanks for the donation. Do you think there's too many belts per division? Yes. I think most boxing fans do, or most fight fans do. You see what the UFC does, or even MMA in general with each of their organizations. It's the one champion, but saying that gives fighters more opportunities, m- you know, brings more money to the sport, I guess, because, more people, there's more people putting money into each organization to get a belt, and the promoters investing in it and networks and stuff, because it helps them sell fights, doesn't it, to casuals and stuff like that. But personally, I think it would help overall if there was one belt, and it would just help people. I think the amount of times I have to tell my friends that they'll watch the big fight, now and again, and they'll say, "Oh, who's this champion?" and "Oh, why is he not fighting him?" And you have to explain about all the belts and how they're in different organizations, and then the networks, and yeah. So even me just rambling on just a little bit there, that's why it puts it off. So it would be so much better if we saw just one belt per division. But thanks for the donation, man. I really appreciate it. Vice, do you think the sanctioning bodies have too much power? It feels like they get in the way of super fights if they don't get. Yeah, I think I'm kind of doing a video on this. It's kind of to do with this. I should hopefully have it out today or tomorrow, where it kind of covers that. And the sanctioning bodies can help because they can put fights onto a purse bid, but sometimes they can, like the WBA making Usyk Dubois as the mandatory. It's like as Usyk's mandatory. It's like I know the regular belt, the WBA regular belt, really doesn't help in that situation either, because they obviously make the regular and the super champion fight eventually. But still, it's just the networks and the promoters and the sanctioning bodies and whoever, and even the fighters to their personal teams. Sometimes they all have a part to play, and it really, it doesn't help. All right, guys, I'll stay for another 10 minutes. I'll try to get through as many questions as I can, but I'll just see how I get on. But thanks for joining everyone so far. Boxing boundary, yeah, mismatches are destroying the sport. Yeah, we need to see higher level fights, I think. Um, But I think we're coming to the stage, for example, you look at the lightweight division, 135 and 140 pounders, you know, it's coming to the point where they fought all the kind of guys on the side. And I'm talking about the top guys, Devin Haney, um, Shakur, Tank Davis, all those guys, you know, Lomachenko. They've all fought the guys on the side now. The only guys that are left are them, and they need to fight each other because there's only so many of these side, top 20 fighters they can fight. They have to fight the top 5, 6 guys eventually. So I'm hoping going into the next year, we will see at least a couple of those fights take place. And I think it's starting to happen because they're wiping the floor at these other guys. And the only way for them to then make more money is to make the big fights. And let's be honest, they want to make as much money as possible, and that is the way to do it. You make these super fights. Like you said, yeah, like you said, the in-demand fights, people would pay more and they would also make more money. But the issue as well is the promoters are also wanting to squeeze as much money as possible out of a fighter. They're wanting to build up you know, the face of their promotional company or their network. You know, Anthony Joshua, for example, with Sky, they built him up very well, and over the years until he lost, and that just shows you how the down. Look at the downfall of Anthony Joshua. He's still obviously very well respected. For what he's. He still became heavyweight world champion, beat Vladimir Klitschko, whatnot. But those defeats to Usyk and even Ruiz kind of ruined his legacy, and then you kind of understand from the promoter's point of view, or in the networks, why they kind of build up a guy because they want to make as much money off these fighters as possible. It doesn't help. I'm not saying that I like it. I understand why they do it, but yeah, it's really frustrating as a fight fan. Fabsy, the WBA has mired in Don King nonsense for ages. Curious to hear your opinion on what Fury's strategy would be against Usyk because it's so difficult to take away control of the pace from. Uh, yeah, the Don King stuff is weird, especially all that Dubois. I believe he's taking Don King to court because he didn't get paid after his last fight. Uh, but yeah, I don't, it's weird, this connection with the WBA, with Don King. And God, he's about the same age as Bob Arum now. I think he must be in at least 90 now. It's like, how much longer are these guys going to be promoting these companies for? And in terms of Fury versus Usyk, uh, at the moment, I'm still going Fury. I think the size and just he's a very good boxer as well. I think he would be able to handle Usyk. I think he would make it very dirty. I think he would, you know, put his body weight on him. He would try and make him fight in the inside. However, saying that, Usyk is so difficult to, to fight him like that. He's always moving. He uses the jab beautifully. He can counter you, and he can time you as well. If he does come up close to fighting the inside, and he can get away. And it's such an intriguing fight stylistically, and I think Usyk will cause a lot more problems than we think. I think it will be a very close fight, and we've kind of seen Fury against Cunningham all those years ago, and who was once a cruiserweight moving up to heavyweight, and he obviously got knocked down by him, and the movement and the small, he was just a smaller guy. He was able to move a bit better than a big heavyweight that just stands and trades. And Usyk obviously is a guy that's going to move all night long, and he's proven that in all his fights at heavyweight. He can keep moving no matter what. So Yeah, at the moment, I'd probably still just edge Fury, but Usyk makes it a very, very close fight. Gad, I like Loma and Haney. I think it's a 50-50 fight. Do you think Haney has a bit more of an advantage now because Loma's getting older? Y Yes, no. I think I've been very critical, like a lot of people have, of Devin Haney, especially before the Kambosos fights. He left himself open at times and you'd get hit. Look, I always go back to that Linares fight and, and his chin, it's like, can he withstand these other top guys at 135, 140 if he's kind of getting shook up by, Linares like that? And the one thing I'll say about Haney is he has made the improvements. Um, one thing Haney does, he used to bend at the waist and not move back in time. And this is where he'd get hit with uppercuts and hooks as he bent his waist. But he's really improved that area now where he'll look to move very quickly, or he'll look to basically tie you up on the inside to stop you from getting any of those shots. And he's improved that. And that was a big, gap in his defense where people were getting him. But he's actually improved. And it'll be interesting to see against someone like Loma, a guy that loves to use lots of angles and footwork and pressure as well. You know, does Loma necessarily have the power to take out someone like Devin Haney? I don't know. But the other thing you need to keep in mind is, when this fight takes place with Loma, he obviously didn't look that good in the last fight with Kambosos at the weigh-in. However, when it came to fight night, he was fine. He absolutely dominated the fight. However, he's clearly struggling to get down to that weight, and it's an issue of, can he, you know, against someone who with more intense pressure than a Kambosos, who's better at creating angles and setups, who's probably one of the smartest fighters we've ever seen in Lomachenko. Yeah, I think it's a very close fight, but for some reason, I'm just slightly edging Lomachenko in terms of his ring IQ. I just think he just has a slight upper hand. But you know, close. I think it will be a close fight, but I'm just edging Lomachenko for that one, Gad. Nuke one up games. Thanks for the comment, dude. Fulton is a big dude for the weight, also though. Yeah, he is. He has to. I think he looks like he drops a lot of weight to get down to super bantamweight. If I'm being honest, he probably fight at featherweight. I think Fulton is scared. He's already saying stuff about the gloves and who he uses. I'm not seeing anything about that, but who knows? I need to check that out. Conqueror Jordan, thanks for the comment, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining. What do you think about Ben Whitaker? Uh, I think he looks very good. I think he looks seems to look like he has good, has good boxing ability. You've watched him in the Olympics. I think he had a shoulder injury, a tear, a rotational cuff injury in his shoulder, and he boxed the whole Olympics, which is crazy to think. I've suffered that injury, and I had to take so much time off. And since he's turned pro, he looks really dangerous. But we need to see him against a top guy before we can really judge him. At the moment, it's all about building up his experience as a pro, getting him confidence and knockouts, like they do with any upcoming young pro. And but yeah, I think he looks very exciting. He's definitely one to keep an eye out on, and he's kind of got that personality as well to uh, be quite polarizing. Is probably the word to use. You'll be a love him or you hate him type kind of guy. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he develops over the next couple of years. And Brad, thanks for the comment. In my opinion, Inoue has the best body shots in boxing. It seems like every time someone's on the ropes, they get pounded to the body in a variety of attacks, and is part of what makes him so dangerous. Yeah, I have to agree. He is probably the best body puncher in the sport. Maybe I always like Canelo's body punching. I think they're quite similar in sense of setting up shots to the body. But Inoue, for me, the way he just torques his body into those body shots with the left hook is just it's beautiful. It really is. It's beautiful violence. And yeah, I think the the other thing I love about Inoue's setup, Inoue's body punches is the way he sets them up. He's able to he uses the jab to to tighten the guard and then before going around it. It's just so smart from Inoue. And guys, I said I was going to stay for 50. I'm going to stay another. There is quite a few more questions, but I'll stay for another 10 minutes or so and try and get through these. And let's just see who we got. Uh, yes, I did. And I originally did. I haven't seen actually. I've only seen the highlights for that fight, but obviously I saw what everyone was saying. And for me, it was more the stoppage, which was a bit dodgy, if I'm being honest. I thought the referee, obviously he let Dubois go down so many times and gave him a chance. And then, as much as Dubois had hurt, I can't remember his name, the South African guy, Lavera, was it? I can't remember. But yeah, there was no standing 8 count, I believe. And he could, because he hit the ropes. So you get a standing 8 count. And by the time he kind of bounced off the ropes after coming back up, the ref had stopped the fight. And it's just like, and the bell had rung as well. And personally, I thought that was a bit more dodgy than, but yeah, it is what it is. Home fighter and all, isn't it? Fabsy, fighters are really scared. It's all about money. Almost every boogeyman there ever was avoided because of money. Hence, so many fighters. Hence, so many of them are Eastern European, Asian fighters. Do you mean in terms of like that's where they're from, like the boogeymen of the divisions? I'm trying to think of like, I guess you kind of got Beater Biev, Anui. Trying to think who else. Bevel, but Bevel's not really so much. It's more about his boxing skills rather than his ability to take guys out. He'll just outbox you for 12 rounds, whereas Peter Biev will just come in and destroy you. Let's have a look at the. So I'm just looking at rankings just to kind of give me an idea. Trying to think who else. Who else is a boogeyman? Who would you consider a boogeyman in the divisions right now? Advice, do you think the so-called good fighters are scared to fight each other because, like the ring announcer says, someone's O has got to go? I don't know. I don't think fighters are scared to fight each other at all. I think I'm sure there's some that maybe are a bit worried about facing a better guy. They don't want to. They don't want to lose. They don't want to lose their income. Um, they don't want to lose their pride, their ego. Let's be honest. Some of the top fighters are all very egotistical in their own way, and yeah, there's probably an element of them not wanting to lose. And I wouldn't necessarily say they're scared though. I think it's more other factors that kind of play into it. Maybe for some, but I don't think for the majority. I think they would all fight each other if they could. Okay. I think Fury would fight in Southpaw for a bit. I guess you're talking about the Usyk fight. Yeah, I think that could be an option. Um, for Fury just to change it up, just to kind of see how Usyk reacts. And I don't even know. I'm trying to think of has Usyk ever faced a southpaw in the professionals? I can't think of. Can't think of anyone at the moment. Brad, have you got a top pound for pound? I think Crawford is top 10, but not top five purely because of his level of competition is not good enough compared to Bevel, Canelo, and he doesn't fight enough. Uh, at the moment, off the top of my head, the guys that I kind of think pound for pound, who am I thinking? Probably Inoue, Usyk. I probably would still put Crawford. I like putting guys in the pound for pound list that have actually, most of them that have proven to have beaten guys in multiple divisions, and obviously Crawford's done that. He's definitely top three for me because of that. Um, who else? I'd probably have to say Bevel, and maybe this is the difficult. It's like who else? I'm trying to think. Canelo, and maybe Errol Spence as well, because Errol Spence has beaten some top guys, as well. So Charlo as well, he's wiped out a whole division. Josh Taylor, even though he had a dodgy win over Catterall. Yeah, those are kind of like off the top of my head. Those are the kind of guys that are my kind of pound for pound at the moment. Uh, Akhmadaliev, yeah, that could be a good fight as well. I think. I don't know. I think Akhmadaliev. I think Fulton beats Akhmadaliev personally as well, but it'll be interesting to see. Um, all right, guys, we'll stay 5 more minutes. So get in your last questions. Jordan, I think Spence is the best body puncher, to be honest. Yeah, I think he's a good punch. Yeah, he's quite good at setting up the right hook to the body with his lead hand, especially for a southpaw. I think he's very good. Your page set, yeah. Very good body puncher, Spence. He kind of, he'll, like Inoue, but obviously he's coming from a southpaw stance. He'll occupy the guard with the lead hand before coming in with like a left hand to the body, and then immediately kind of throw his right to the left side of his opponent's body. He's really good at it, and I think it's just I don't know if it's like obviously Spence has decent power, and I think it does. It shakes his opponent just for a sec, tighten the guard, and then he's so great at getting those openings around the side. Pappy, I think Fulton will move up after seeing a Nui fight. That's why he's fighting for the vacant featherweight. I didn't know he was going to be fighting for the featherweight title, but that'll be interesting. That will people will be saying that's a duck, won't they? Let's be honest. But maybe Inoue should try and go up to featherweight. That'd be interesting. I wonder what Fulton would do then. What chance do you give Ryder against Canelo? Uh, I don't think Ryder will win. I think he could cause some problems. He's obviously a southpaw, but I think Canelo would be able to not, it could go 12 rounds. It could, I don't, in my head at the moment, I'd probably say Canelo would probably get a kind of 12-round points victory. Because Ryder, he's got quite good defense. He's quite solid. He's solid in that respect. And like I said, he's a southpaw. They're always tricky customers. And would Shakur be on the pound for pound list if he beat Jermaine Ortiz versus Kambosos? Mm, I I don't know. This is the thing. I think there was chat about yeah, I've seen that he was talking about maybe fighting Kambosos next. Um, but whether could he get that Kambosos fight? I don't know. I think obviously, for me, I think Shakur is definitely up there with the best at 135. I think he's one of the best out there right now. But he still, for me, just needs to prove himself against maybe one or two top guys before I could put him on. You know, could I put him as, you know, I'd, if I was going to put him in the pound for pound list, I'd probably put him at maybe like between 10 and 12. I might sound a bit harsh. I think he just needs to fight one or two top guys, and then without a doubt, he's top 10. In terms of talent, yeah, he's just tremendous. He's like, oh yeah, Fabsy, as you're saying, purely on skill set, yes, the guy is unbelievable. Yeah, he's a future king. I think he will dominate. I think doesn't matter who you'll fight, everyone's gonna struggle against him. He's that good. The way he's able to control distance and range and counter counter punch guys and also just beat guys up. Um, However, saying that, yeah, it's like, is it kind of that? Is he just going to be that kind of Floyd Mayweather style for the rest of his career? You know, just kind of boxing the back foot, using his skill set. Can that work for the next against like the top guys, Haney, Garcia, Tank? Could that work? I don't know. We need to wait and see. But yeah, he is one of the very best. And guys, I'm gonna call it a day there. I really appreciate all the comments. It's been fun. I haven't done one of these in a while. I'll probably do another one before the end of the year and kind of just give you my thoughts on the year of boxing that happened. But really appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been good fun, and thanks for all the comments and also the super chats for those who donated. I really appreciate it. And yeah, guys, as always, have a good week, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.